Hey Internet, it's RJ. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning into this show today. Now today's episode, we're talking about one of the most important documents in the game of credit and finance, and that is your credit report. So we're going to break down what it is, how it works, and of course we'll take a look at one of mine as well to really drive the example home, and I'll tell you how you can find and check yours as well. So of course, if that sounds interesting to you, then go ahead, press the subscribe button, and let's get to work. So when we get into it here, the tagline on profitablecontent.com, which is the channel's website, is all the news you can use in the world of credit and finance. And the world of credit and finance is largely based off of a few things on the personal level: your credit score and your credit report. Now, the credit score, which we've talked about, and we have a video on, at least the FICO version that I can put down below for you. The credit score is, kind of like a summation of everything on your credit report. It's kind of, you could imagine that, if we put up the FICO wheel, these things have different weights: payment history, average age of credit, credit mix, things like that. They're weighted, and then they're kind of summed up, and then that is your credit score, which is like a really easy number to take a look at. And credit score is used a lot for credit cards, which we're generally interested in. Generally credit card applications will pull from one of the major credit bureaus, so Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. And, they'll have enough. They'll just say, hey, we got a credit score of 750. That's fine to give you the credit card, but it doesn't give you the full picture of what made up that credit score. So very simply put, a credit report, again, is kind of like a summary. Think about it kind of like your report card. I could give you your GPA, but I could really tell you class by class, here's what you got. So it's going to list, your open accounts, the age of your accounts, your outstanding balances, not just credit cards, but mortgages, auto loans, if you had any delinquent marks, missed payments, things like that. It's going to list all of that in detail, and then all of that summarized basically is the credit score. Now, overall, this is important in our world for a few things, but generally with any credit product is, a bank deciding if they're going to lend you money, and, lending is basically trying to price out risk. So, one, they're trying to figure out, it's called, are you credit worthy? Are you worthy for us to lend to? I mean, it's a little bit pretentious of a term, but that's generally what they're saying. Are you worthy of it? And so a credit score of, this much means, we trust you this much, and then we can price in the risk through the interest rate to kind of balance it out. So ideally, the higher credit score, the better interest rates you could get to a degree. On certain products like credit cards, doesn't really matter that much. Home loans, auto loans, it can be a little bit more important. So you'll also notice that, again, as we talked about in our first example with credit cards, by no means I want to make light of credit card as a financial product, because you can earn greatly with it, or you can cost yourself greatly if you don't know what you're doing. But in the bank's eye, credit card is not that serious of a product, and we know that because they end up just pulling credit score for it through usually one agency, versus if you go up to a mortgage, which is hundreds of thousands of dollars, sometimes up into the millions, depending on how deep your pockets go and where you want to live. They use credit score, obviously, but they pull credit report, and they pull all three credit reports. Now, we'll talk about all three in a second, but generally with banking products, I know the more serious risk involved, because the more documentation I have to do. And just to stick on this point, a credit card application you can do in 3 minutes. To get a mortgage, it has to actually have a notary present, a person to see, who's authorized to watch you sign the documents and make sure you did and kind of stamp them. So we can tell a little bit more serious. We can also tell because they're pulling the full credit report. They want to know the full story of who they're lending this much money to. Yes, even though a mortgage, as an example, is backed by collateral, still, if you're irresponsible, you could smash it up, tear it up, something. So they want to get the best picture they can. Now, pulling all three is known as a tri-merge credit pool, and they check all three agencies. So you do have a credit report with Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. And the reason they do this is because, again, banks are not required to report to any of the agencies. Most big banks or most lenders do, but again, they're not required to. So in order to get the full picture, they pull all three. Don't worry, they charge you for it. They're not doing it out of the goodness of their heart. Basically, anything they ask for, you also have to pay for so they can get. So what that means from there, at least you can have credit reports from all agencies. So if you're doing this exercise, it's important to check all three. Now, we're just going to check one of them just so you can see what it looks like in a second. But how would you go about doing this if you wanted to see what was on your credit report card, basically? Well, the good news is the CFPB, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, makes it easy when they're outlining this information. So everyone gets one free report a year from each agency. If you want another one, it's $14.50 per report after that. However, as we're going to see, it's possible to get an updated reports for free online. A lot of these companies now will just refresh them for you online once a month, so it's not the worst thing in the world. You can request all 3 reports at once through annualcreditreport.com. I have no affiliation with that. Again, that's what the CFPB recommends if you wanted to go. Of course, you can go to all 3 agencies as well. Now, if you wanted more, but you didn't want to pay, you do have the option to get additional reports. If you receive an adverse action notice based on credit information, adverse action basically means your credit was used to make a decision against you. So if you did not get approved for a credit card or a mortgage, you have a right to request the report from the agency used. So they should specify we used Equifax, for example. You can request from Equifax. You can't get TransUnion off of this because they didn't use TransUnion. You must request that within 60 days. Of course, if you suspect inaccurate or fraudulent information, you could do that as well. But again, for most of us, the once a year is fine, and they do refresh. Now, I want to add a few things here before we take a look at it. Number one, if you go through our credit and debt playlist, you're going to find some other things that can help you here, like, again, the FICO, breaking down FICO score and what goes into that. We also have videos on freezing your credit, which can help, prevent fraudulent transactions from taking place without your knowledge. Basically, people who have your information opening products in your name. You can do that as well. And there's also credit monitoring, which we've talked about, which is going to keep an eye on anytime your credit is used and send you alerts and things like that. So between all this plus reviewing your report once a year periodically should be enough. Now, when we do talk about all 3, there's also a theory out there that would say you'd be better off to stagger out getting your reports instead of getting them all at once. Because, again, not everyone reports to every agency. But if you reviewed Equifax, in Q1, then the next one in Q2, the next one in Q3, I know we're missing a quarter, but maybe that last quarter is made up by just checking them, through the refresh tool on their sites. You would still be looking at one every 3 months versus all 3, and then, there being, 11 other months basically where stuff could happen. But again, with the stuff we just covered out between freezing and credit monitoring, you should be plenty fine. So with that, again, we're going to take a look at the one that I have. We'll go through the digital version just to show you what it looks like so you can get experience with it and know what you're looking at. So let's flip the screen and get to it. All right, guys, so here we are. Again, this is Experian. This is like the one that I have for identity monitoring. I got it, through the Equifax data breach, but it should serve our purposes. So you can see right over here, update your Experian credit report. Again, you can update it. There's only like once per month you can actually go through here and update it to update credit report. Again, so you don't even have to request the old school paper one. So let's just go ahead and do that. And of course, we have to agree for some reason, order credit report. I mean, it's going to do it virtually, but for whatever reason, we always have to agree to term. So once that loads, again, report updated June 16th. That's the date I'm actually taping this. So we can just take a quick run through here. So revolving accounts, again, these are credit cards and things like that. 20 balance is what I owe right now. Payment that's actually due, open account, and close. So you can see it's counting all of them. And again, a lot of my cards are business cards, so they wouldn't show up on this personal credit anyway. So if you're thinking my account is light, well then that would be why. But again, you've got some kind of easy navigation. You can print it if you wanted to. So line of credits. So again, this would be like a personal line of credit. It is interesting. I do have an upgrade line of credit for like $24,000 that I got as part of a bank bonus that we did on the other channel, but clearly that's not counted here. But again, as we said, they might not report to Experian. So again, there's an example to keep in mind. Now, real estate accounts, so they're splitting it up. So account 3, which does make sense because I have 2 mortgages, but one was refinanced. And technically, if you refinance it, ends the old mortgage and starts a new one. So that's how you get it 3. So that's the actual balance. And this is the total amount that I had to pay every single month. So that checks out there. Installment accounts, again, 2. I actually don't know. Oh, close to. Okay. So that makes, I think these are car loans. That would be installment loans because I paid off my car. So they were 2. There are none open right now. I don't remember what the other one was actually, but that's okay. Then again, open accounts. So again, more of a breakdown. Collection accounts, nothing there. That's good. That's definitely something you want to pay attention to. Other accounts, I don't know how they're defining other accounts. And then, of course, we have some more information. So if we scroll back up to the top here, I mean, this kind of just takes you around there, so we'll have to block out the personal information, but again, it kind of bounces you there. You can see previous addresses, consumer statements, so it even gives you a summary. So consumer statements are statements that you've added to your credit report to explain and challenge your entry of your credit file. So if you were like disagreeing with something, for example, they would track it there. Credit inquiries, that's always fun. So there's probably a ton of these. Again, Chase card, I think this is my most recent, would have been the Sapphire Preferred in branch. You can just kind of go through these. I mean, they break them out. So if there was ever an inquiry on here that you didn't agree with, at least they give you the phone number. I mean, I don't know how helpful the phone number is going to be, but because they're all kind of the same. So I don't know. Well, now they're actually different. So, okay. So you can go here, and American Express. That was a line of credit I did with them, business line of credit. So again, it didn't report city cards. I mean, we don't need to go through all of these, but again, you can see there's quite a few. We'll just track inquiries. Eventually, the inquiries do fall off. They only stay on your report for like 2 years. As you can see, we're in 2023 now, so going to 2021, that'll be 2 years. So they don't stay on forever. And then this kind of gives you more of a drill down if you want to see a revolving line. Again, revolving credit lets you repeatedly borrow money. So this is basically a credit card, right? So we can kind of see, here's that Chase card we talked about. We'll block out some of this stuff, but date opened, balance, your highest balance that you ever had on it, I assume limit. So you can kind of go through here. If I scroll further, I'm just going to block out more stuff. Even I don't think it's terrible, but so we'll leave it there. Again, line of credit, no lines of credit. Again, I do have one from Upgrade. It's just not reporting, so that is an example. Granted, I never activated that card, but still, real estate again. You can see the actual mortgage company there that they have. You can see it's a real estate account, condition closed. Again, because I refinanced it, it was open originally in 2019. Last reported September 7th, so it was right before. I must have refinanced it then. They finally reported the final report. There you go. Installments, again, this was the car loan. It is paid off, so it is closed. Last reported March 14th. I think I did a video on actually paying it off through plastic, which unfortunately doesn't work anymore. But again, you can kind of go through here and spot check your stuff, right? That's kind of how we get into open accounts. Again, this would be an open mortgage, so we're Rocket Mortgage. And if we scroll down here, we would probably all still see the other accounts that we have as well. But again, I think we get the point. Collection accounts, that's really what you want to see. No collections account, which is good. Again, I don't know how they're defining other accounts. Derogatory information, so this would be missed payments, things like that. Of course, it gives you an example up here, so I guess you don't need me to tell you that, but it does public record. If anything came up on public record, I think this would be, well, again, they're talking about legal actions, bankruptcies, probably even if someone maybe even put like a mechanic's lien or some kind of judgment on your house, maybe that potentially could come up here as well. And creditor contact information if you wanted to contact any of these guys. Again, it's probably going to be easier to just look up the phone number, go directly to the site. You know how to do. We know who Amex and Chase are by now, but again, you can see, you can get their information. So overall, I mean, that's pretty much it. It's not too bad there. Then if you wanted to go back and compare, you could as well. You can go back on the 21st to the 24th. Again, you can refresh this once per month. So there's not really a reason to have to go through the requesting piece. I mean, we did spend a good amount of time on it, so you could. And again, this is just experience. So ideally, you would want to go to TransUnion, Equifax, and do this same thing. But again, for our purposes, I think this is fine. I don't think we need to go through all the other ones. I mean, if you feel strongly about wanting to see them, let me know and we can do that. But I think this is good enough to get you a feel for what can be on your credit report and how to navigate it and things to look for. So with that, we will now flip it back over to the other view to close this one out. And so there we have it, guys. That is a look at one of my reports. Now, again, I think the other two will look largely similar to this. Again, just give you the idea of the information they have on it. Now, again, overall, like I said, we talked about it before. I definitely encourage you to watch those other videos that go more in depth on the credit monitoring and the credit freezing and the credit score. But between all of that and checking this periodically, you should be covered. Cover your bases as you go through this game to get maximum value. So, of course, let me know down below what you thought on this. What's your process for checking and keeping up to date with your reports? Love to hear from you. But anyways, guys, if you've liked this one, drop me a thumbs up down below. If you found it particularly interesting, consider subscribing to the channel. Again, posting content just like this every single week and right back here every Sunday with all the news you could use in the week that wasn't credit and finance. Of course, we are over on profitable content every single day with all the latest news stories, bank bonuses, and credit card offers. So you got a clean slate. You want to get started. No place better to jump into than profitablecontent.com. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this one. As always, thank you so much for watching. We'll talk to you very soon in the next one.